It's 4:30. I'd like to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission of October 20th. We'll all stand for the pledge and invocation. Dear Lord, we ask you to be with us today as we deal with the city of Leesburg's business, that the decisions we make today will be pleasing in your sight. Pray this in thy most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Always good to see a crowd out there. Glad y'all could make it. Commissioners, before you, you have the minutes from the last meeting of September 8th. Are there any additions, corrections, or amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes.
I have a motion for approval of the minutes as submitted. Do I hear a second?
I second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
His microphone's feeding back. It's feeding back. Is the sound guy here? I used to be a sound man, so.
Pass these down, please. Dan, why don't we explain to these folks how we do business?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 20, 2022 City of Leesburg Planning Commission meeting. My name's Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Director with the City of Leesburg. Staff present today includes Sabrina Mitchell, our Administrative Assistant to my left, Senior Planners Candy Harper and Christine Rock, and Planners Max Van Allen and Melissa Metters. Today's meeting agenda is available on the table by the door if you don't have one and would like one. If you would like to speak on a case today, we'd ask everyone to please go ahead and sign the speaker's registry and turn it into Sabrina, who's sitting here again. Under the rules of participation, the meeting is conducted under the following process. At first, the chairman will announce the case, and then staff will read some exhibits, including maps and photos and text, into the record, and will be presenting this information up on the screens. Staff will then read a recommendation into the record. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak about that request, and then the chairman will allow time for any public comments. The applicant will then have an opportunity for rebuttal. The chairman will close the case to the public, and the commission will discuss amongst themselves, and then a vote will be taken, and the commission will then move on to the next case. The Planning Commission is a citizen board that is appointed by the City Commission, and they're charged with two major responsibilities. The first is to make a final decision on cases such as variances and conditional uses. The second is to make recommendations for cases that are to be heard by the City Commission. Today, the Planning Commission will make a final decision on two conditional use permit cases and will make a recommendation on the small-scale comp plan and zoning cases on the agenda. These recommendations are forwarded to the City Commission for a final decision. Please note that there are tentative dates for those hearings, which are listed on the agenda in bold. And please be advised that these dates are subject to be changed to earlier or later dates, so check with Planning and Zoning staff or the City Clerk's office regarding the final hearing dates. Finally, on behalf of the planning staff and the Leesburg Planning Commission, we would like to thank you for your participation in today's public hearing process. And one quick other item, Mr. Chairman, we have Mr. Stuart Kaplan, his first meeting back as a planning commissioner, and Mr. Ken Simeon, his first meeting, a new member. So we'd like to say welcome to you, gentlemen.
You stole my thunder, but yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
Glad to have both of you gentlemen here. I know y'all are here mostly to speak on the,
Anglers?
pardon?
Anglers?
Yes, on the Angler project. Any of those that wish to speak, we're going to have to swear you in, and we kind of like to do that right up front. So anyone that wants to speak, please rise, and we'll have Sabrina swear you in.
On that case or any other case.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. So now we got you. Without any further ado, we'll get into new business. Introduce public hearing case CUP 22430, Cove Duplex Conditional Use Permit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For public hearing case CUP 22-430 Kolb Duplex Conditional Use Permit, this is a proposal for a duplex unit on the south side of Kolb Street, which is over here right off of 9th. The current zoning is R2 medium density, and the future land use is low density. The comprehensive plan of the city of Leesburg requires if you want a request to have a duplex within the low-density future land use category, you have to apply for and receive a conditional use permit. The plan is to construct a two-story unit which fits in with the overall character of the area. This is within the historic district. The owner would like to live on one floor and lease out the other. Along that street and in the area, there are other multiple unit type similar homes in the area. The design of the proposed building will be shown in the presentation. The current building there is in severe disrepair and should be demolished. The site is within the historic district, but the building itself has no historical value. The project will be heard at the Leesburg Historic Preservation Board meeting later this month for the demolition request, which staff also supports. Candy Harper, senior planner with the office, will present the maps and photo exhibits at this time, including the aerial zoning, future and surrounding land use, flood zones, wetlands, CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you, Melissa. The map you have before you is an aerial that shows the location of the property south of Kolb. Gives you a pretty good feeling for where it is in the city. And the zoning is currently R2, surrounded by a lot of residential. The future land use, as Mr. Miller pointed out, was low-density residential. And the surrounding existing land use is residential, mostly around it, with a little bit of commercial to the north and some to the east. And there are no wetlands or flood zones on this site, high and dry. It is in the Greater Leesburg Community Redevelopment Area, and it is in Commission District 2. And staff, it is in the historic district overlay, and Mr. Miller pointed out that it is not an historic structure. Do we have pictures? Yes, we have pictures. So the picture on the top shows that we posted the site, and it gives you a pretty good idea of the condition of the lot. The picture on the bottom is looking west on Kolb. The picture on the top is looking north on Kolb. And the picture on the bottom is looking east along Kolb. That's all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Candy. Moving on to the departmental review summary, the project was sent out to all the various city departments. There were no specific or substantive comments in regard to that. We did not receive any written responses from the surrounding property owner letters, newspaper advertisement, and sign posting. At this point, I'd like to read the Planning and Zoning Division recommendation into the record for the Kolb Duplex CUP project, conditional use permit to allow a duplex in an R2 medium density for case number CUP 22430. Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the request meets the criteria set forth in Section 25-141 conditional uses of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances for the granting of a conditional use permit to allow a duplex structure. 2, the conditional use for the subject property is consistent with the city's adopted growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. And 3, subject to the conditions listed below, the proposed conditional use does not appear to create a detrimental impact on the surrounding properties. The conditions are basically allowing one duplex building, which is 2 units in one structure, so it still looks like a single-family house, in an R2 medium-density zoning district. The conditional use permit will be subject to all the City of Leesburg code requirements, including zoning and building code regulations as amended. If the property is transferred, the ownership of the property is transferred, there must be a notice to the new purchaser that there is a conditional use permit agreement. There is also under number 4, no exemption from applicable regulations of the City of Leesburg and other governmental agencies, such as the assessment of impact fees. And of course, number 5, violation of the conditions may result in the permit becoming null and void. And the permit must be properly executed and filed with the City of Leesburg Planning and Zoning Division within 90 days of the date of approval, or it becomes null and void, and the permittee must reapply. The action requested is vote to approve the conditional use for the subject property to allow a duplex residential development based on compliance with the stated conditions. And I believe Mr. Io Johnson is here to answer any questions you may have. We did send this recommendation out, so I guess I don't have anyone here to answer any questions about it, but staff will do whatever we can to answer any if the board does have any.
Okay, I see on the conceptual site plan that it's pushed off to the left side. What is that side setback? Do you have that? I don't see it.
The side setback would be a minimum of 5 feet on one side and 10 number on here, but based on, it appears to be approximately, I believe that's a 50-foot lot,
Yeah,
so that's probably a 5-foot setback on that side.
okay. All right. The commission have any questions of staff?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, the height of this duplex, is that going to be consistent with the rest of the neighborhood?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
There are 2 stories, I think, I want to say on both sides.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Staff is nodding, that's correct.
Only difference is it's going to be a new structure instead of one that's 100 years old.
Yeah.
Because that street has been there for a while.
Been there a long time, yes, sir.
Okay. If there's no discussion, nobody in the public wants to speak on this issue? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Did you?
It's going to happen because he's not here. What are you going to represent?
Sir, if you want to speak, you have to come up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello, I'm David Lewis. I live on the left-hand side of that in
Okay.
a 2-story. That's not quite accurate on the trees. The one that needs to be tore down supposedly, there at the front of the duplex, is actually on the property line, on the right-hand edge.
The tree is on the property line?
It is on my property, almost all of it.
Almost all of it? Okay. Any part that's hanging over, that owner can cut.
Yeah.
But beyond
All my-
that,
All my blessings,
okay.
because it all grows the other way.
Okay.
Okay. So what is going to happen? He's not here to answer other questions.
We did expect someone to be here,
Yeah.
and if there's no significant opposition, if there's significant opposition, we could hold it. But unless there's significant opposition, normally we would not hold it. It's pretty rare that
He
someone doesn't
have-
show up.
He doesn't have a drawing here either, right?
It's got the drawing up
That's the
there,
drawing.
and then there's got the, well, this is conceptual. It's not a full plan. And then the next page over is, I don't know if we can rotate that or not. Yeah.
Plus, the drawing's not necessary for the CUP.
Yeah, just for the zoning purposes, it's conceptual, but when it
Yeah.
gets to the actual building permit,
And
they'll have better plans.
The parking,
The parking would have to meet the standard requirements for
Two
two of them.
street-
They'd need a
two
total
on
of
the
4
street,
spaces.
yes,
They'd need a total of 4 spaces.
that's it. Okay.
And that depends on the number of bedrooms. Let me clarify that for you, because if it's,
Bathrooms, Sure.
right, if it's 3 bedrooms and up, you're going to need 2 spaces. If it's, we were just looking at this, if it's a 1 bedroom, you need 1.5, and I forget on the 2 bedroom if it's a 1.5 or 2. There will be a site plan coming through for review. This is strictly the zoning side of it. So if the project does actually move forward, you still got to get approval to tear the existing building down from the historic board. And then he has to bring in plans that meet, excuse me, all city requirements, specifications, laws, and regulations on that. I'm sorry?
I don't know all about the house. I tried to buy it 3 times,
Oh, did you? Okay.
even when it was condemned. I don't know how it made it off.
Sir, I can't barely hear you. You're going to
I
have to...
don't know how it made it off the condemned list about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay, so
Anything about it?
that's not relevant to what we're doing now, sir.
Okay. Whatever you say.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Have you been sworn in as well?
No. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
And where you live, please.
Hi, my name is Melissa Moore, and I live on Lily Street, but directly behind where this is proposed.
Okay.
So my question in regards to the parking, was that off-street parking? So does that mean that, it's not a very wide piece of property, so I'm trying to figure out like where the building is proposed to be going. Are they gonna push it further to the back, closer to the
Right.
bike trail?
Do we have that?
To get the parking in the front, which would mean this duplex would then be looking directly into my backyard?
No, ma'am. There's a number of options they have. Coming off the Culp Street at the top.
Okay.
And these 4 stripes, or 2, 4, 5 stripes there,
Mhm.
represent where they'd like to put the parking.
Okay,
Now, when it comes to art engineering and things like that, that could change. This is
Right.
strictly conceptual. There's a possibility that we would require it to be moved a little bit. But that's where they're placing them for now, and if everything goes as planned, that's where they would. But once you get into hard engineering, core samples and everything, it could change if you think.
Right.
I don't think it will in
So
this
it's
case.
basically, their proposal is that they're hoping to build this basically where the existing structure is, only, I mean, obviously they'll go a little deeper into the property being.
Yes, ma'am, that was my
But
understanding.
basically, so there's still a pretty good
They-
buffer between the house and the bike path where the trees are.
The rear setback on an R2 zoning is 18 feet, where you can't build, there, that's from the rear property line to the vertical wall of the structure, that's the
Has to be
minimum
18 feet.
distance.
Okay,
So ideally, you'd have more than the 18 feet based on that lot depth, but I can't guarantee it because legally they could go as far as 18 feet back to the property line.
okay. I've just very much enjoyed having not a duplex behind me, and I have this
Right.
nice private backyard, and I'm like, oh no.
Right.
How deep is that lot?
I believe it's 120, I don't have it in
Well,
my
it
notes.
looks like it's about a
I
fourth,
may be wrong on
a
that
fourth
number.
of the lot behind it.
Mhm.
So you're probably talking 30 feet, give or take.
Okay.
I mean, just guessing.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Is there any more discussion from anybody in the public that would like to address this? Hearing that, I'll close off all comments from the public. Any comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman. on
In hearing none, I'll ask for a motion. Go ahead.
Well, I was basically, never mind. Case number CUP 22430, I move to approve.
I have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving right along. I'm getting them, I'm moving right along. We have computers for the first time for our meeting, so bear with us, folks.
Bear with him.
Bear with me. I'm looking for the second item.
Go down. Down arrow. Down arrow.
Got to go all the way through to the,
Couple more. One more. There you go. You just went to 3.
all right, that's got to be it right there. All right, the Genesis Behavioral Conditional Use Permit, CUP 22408.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For public hearing case CUP 22408, Guyon's Behavioral Conditional Use Permit. This is a proposal for a group home in an existing duplex generally located west of North Oakland Street and north of High Street, as seen in the aerial photo. You can see it
Here it is.
right there on the corner. It doesn't show on that one. Under Florida Statutes 419, group homes which are located in single-family residential units are allowed under the same conditions as single-family residential units without requirement for local government approval. Since this is a duplex and an existing duplex and not a single-family use, staff recommended that the applicant go ahead and get the conditional use permit, as the zoning district itself does require conditional use for group homes. But the difference here is that it's a duplex, not a single-family use. In this case, the zoning is R2 medium-density residential, and the future land use is low density. Candy Harper, a senior planner with the office, will present the maps to include the photo exhibits, aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, flood zones, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. The aerial shows you where the property is located at the corner of North Oakland and High Street. And the zoning is in fact R2. Future land use is low-density residential, and it's surrounded on all sides by residential. There are no flood zones on the site or wetlands, nice and high and dry. And it's just outside of a community redevelopment area. I believe we added this one just to show you how close it is. Again, east on High Street. Picture on the top is looking south on High Street, and the picture on the bottom is looking west on High Street. And it is a corner lot, so there's two roads to post. So it's posted again, and the picture on the top is looking west into the subject property. The picture on the bottom is looking north on North Oakland Street. And the picture on the top is looking east on North Oakland Street, and the picture on the bottom is looking south on North Oakland Street. That should give you a feeling of the area. Thank you, Mr. Miller. That's all I have.
Thank you, Candy. Let's move to the departmental review summary. Again, this project was sent out to all the city departments. There were no specific or significant comments made from the departments. We did not receive any written responses from the surrounding property owner letters, newspaper advertisement, or sign posting as well. So we'd like to go ahead and read the staff recommendation into the record. For Guyon's Behavioral, conditional use permit for a residential group home for a duplex in an R2 medium-density residential zoning district for case number CUP 22408. Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. One, this request meets the criteria set forth in Section 25-141 Conditional Uses of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances for the granting of a conditional use permit to allow a residential use of a residential group home. Two, the request does not create an inconsistency with the City of Leesburg Comprehensive Plan. And I wanted to add one quick condition, if we could. There should be no change to the structure or site to deviate from the duplex and/or single-family uses in the area. And then 4, subject to the conditions listed below, the use of the subject property as a residential group home does not appear to create a detrimental impact to the surrounding areas. Then there's the standard following conditions, which is the permit is granted to allow the permittee for the group home use in the R2 zoning district per section 25-141 conditional uses and section 25-284 district use regulations of the City of Leesburg Land Development Code. And then the conditional use permit is subject to all City of Leesburg code requirements, including zoning and building code regulations as amended. The granting of this permit does not exempt the applicant from other applicable regulations of the City of Leesburg and other governmental agencies, including the assessment of impact fees and other fees as necessary. The same standard comments follow through with violation of the conditions may result in the permit becoming null and void. The conditional use permit must be properly executed by the applicant and filed with the Planning and Zoning Division within 90 days. And the conditional use permit is subject to distance requirements as outlined in the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances for community residential homes. And finally, the action requested is to vote to approve the conditional use for the subject property to allow for residential use as a residential group home. Mr. Chairman, staff is recommending approval. Mr. Terrence Guions of Guions Behavioral is here to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Dan, does the CUP expire even after he puts in the application? I mean, if he doesn't build in a certain period of time?
If no action is taken within 90 days to sign it,
Right.
then it's null and void, and he
Right.
has to start over.
But what about
If no use of the newly permitted use under the conditional use permit happens within 18 months, then it's null and void. So he has 18 months to put the
I
home
thought
in.
that, but it wasn't brought up, so I forgot to bring it up last time. That's it.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Mr.
what do you have to say, sir?
That's Mr. Guions.
Yes, my name is Terrence Guions. I am the owner of
Okay.
Guions Behavioral.
Excuse me.
No problem. Yes, the duplex proposed, I plan to move my most exemplary individuals in my current group home into this new group home. These are individuals who have been maintaining jobs, showing the most exemplary behaviors. So I propose to give them a better home to live in.
Okay, do you do a background search, check on everyone that comes in?
Yes.
Okay. And what would be something that we would, a background check would turn up that you would say, no, you can't move here?
Well, any criminal activity, as far as, well, these individuals, I do want to be clear, these are individuals with developmental disabilities.
Okay.
These are individuals that my company trained to integrate and educate them to get into the community. These individuals have grown and matured enough to have jobs and to show behaviors that any law-abiding citizen would show. So, with that being said, these individuals, they've been in my care for the last 3 years, and they've been showing great behaviors.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
This is, if I may interject, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, this is not for drug, alcohol, sexual offenders, anything
Rehab.
like that. It's not for anything like that. It's just standard
I
group home.
picked up on that real quick.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Please
Chair.
go ahead.
Is this through Agents for Persons with Disabilities?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay, so with that, Mr. Chair, APD, the acronym, will let them know if they've been, subject to any type behaviors and not to be around certain people or children. But my other question to you is, isn't there another group home on High Street? I'm not for sure how far it is down from you? Exactly where your address is at?
The address proposed, the duplex is at 1800 High Street, and I'm correct, there is another one on High Street. That is the purpose of the zoning variance, is to waive the 1,000 feet
Okay.
rule. Yes, sir.
I've got a question. How many residents will be staying
Only 3.
on each side?
We only rent the half of the duplex. So,
Oh, okay, gotcha,
yes.
okay.
Any other questions from the commission?
I have a question. How long have you been in the business?
We've established in 2019.
Okay.
Okay. No more comments? No more questions? I have some questions out in the audience. So, ma'am, you'd have to come up and introduce yourself and speak into the microphone for the record and tell us where you live.
And if she was sworn
And have you been sworn in, ma'am?
My name is Alexis Swirsky. I live in a mobile home park on 441. The question is just curiosity. Even though these residents have not just demonstrated any bad behaviors in the past, what's your plan if they should do something not acceptable in the future? Do they get a 3 strikes and then you're out, or is it an immediate dismissal, or is it immediate remediation? What's the, I just want to know what the planned effect would, the future plan would be in case that happens. Having dealt myself with learning disabled people.
Mr. Guians, before you answer that question,
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
we would best be served if you would give us a definition of what your business actually does and who your clients actually are.
Yeah, no problem. So, what my business is, it is a residential group home. Real focus, APD, as mentioned, they designate individuals as far as what their behaviors have been in the past, and they designate them as far as what their behaviors are. Right now, the individuals that I propose to move, their behavior has been so great that their before behavioral focused classification has stepped down to a standard classification. To go along with Ms. Alexis, what she was asking, with them being a standard group home, their behaviors have been good for so long. That's what they're designated as. Staff also are there to make sure they're behaving well. But if they were to have behaviors that's not considered standard, then they would have to move back into their original home, which would be the behavioral focused home.
So there's policy in place that your staff and you follow to check that behavior along with the guidelines that are set by ADP, correct?
Yes, correct. And when I mention behaviors, any behavior that we would consider, not common for anyone in this room, or something that's not, deemed, appropriate in the public, that's what a behavior is. So it could range for many different things. So if they would do anything that, none of us would really consider, as acceptable, then that would be marked as a behavior.
And you did say this is 24-hour supervised care. They're not just left there alone.
No,
Right.
correct. Yes, it is 24-hour care.
Okay.
That's why you have the other side free for the,
Well, right now, it is rented by another tenant. We speak with the owners. They actually are the owners of my current group home and the half of the duplex that I'm renting currently. We have plans to one day to get both sides.
Discussion from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, case number CUP 22408, I move to approve.
I have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 3, Love Thy Neighbor, has been withdrawn by the applicant. I need a motion to approve the withdrawal.
move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Yes.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion to withdraw has been approved. New business, number 4, Anglers on Harris, small scale comp plan amendment. We'll do the amendment and the rezoning altogether, if you don't mind. Daniel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For small-scale comp plan 22-437 and PUD 22-438, both named Anglers on Harris, that's the small-scale comp plan and PUD zoning. Beginning with the background, there's a proposal for property which is generally located south of US 441 and east of Anglers Avenue. It's behind the Goodwill store, directly behind the Goodwill store on US 441. Property sitting there is about 6.93 plus or minus acres. The requests are to annex into the city of Leesburg. The annexations, as you know, go directly to the city commission. Change the future land use designation from Lake County Urban Medium Density to City of Leesburg Low Density. And then requesting a change in the zoning from Lake County Planned Commercial to City of Leesburg SPUD, which is Small Planned Unit Development. Again, it's 6.93 acres. The request is for 47 single-family detached and attached units. Of that 47, the request is for 27 detached units and 20 attached units. There are, within the PUD zoning, design and architectural standards, so there are design standards for all homes. There are requirements for dark sky lighting, which, as we've talked about before, is shielding or directing of the light inward onto the property so that it doesn't bleed off onto adjacent property. There are requirements for gutters for houses to appropriately direct the storm water down into the water retention areas. There's a requirement on the eastern and western sides of the property for a 15-foot landscape buffer, 35% open space with trees in each yard. The wetlands are protected under the state statutes, and so that the retention goes into the retention ponds before it filters out. There are irrigation controls to use water-wise and Florida-friendly landscaping, so you can't use St. Augustine grass. You have to use Bermuda, Berhea, Zoysia, something like that. There is a requirement for recreational areas. The site plan that you'll see in a moment shows weight room, pool, and boat docks. At this time, Candy Harper, our senior planner, will show the maps and photo exhibits, including the aerial zoning, future and surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zones, CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. The aerial on the screen in front of you shows the placement of the property at the water's edge of Lake Griffin, just south of a commercial strip along 441. The whole north boundary of the property does abut the city limits of Leesburg and also that rather intense commercial strip up there. You can walk to Starbucks from there, as a note.
I almost said that.
The current zoning is in Lake County, and they call it planned commercial. So that is also a pretty intense use were someone to want to develop under Lake County. The zoning north of it, as I said, is C3 commercial, and both of our malls are north of there. So Lake County zoning is commercial, and there's mobile home parks on either side, and then R1 residential. The future land use in Leesburg around 441 corridor is commercial. And Lake County future land use immediately around the property is urban medium density and urban low density a little bit further away. And the surrounding existing land uses are mobile home parks, residential, and to the north there are stores and restaurants. It is the commercial district on 441 across from the mall. There are wetlands at the water's edge, as well as a little bit of flooding at the water's edge, which they will have to deal with during their site plan development. They do have an area that looks like it's about to be a rather nice marina, should they develop it. The community redevelopment area is just on the north property line. And the commission district is district number 1. The property was posted. This one shoots straight into the property. That's shooting south toward the lake, and it shows the posting. And the picture below it shows the gate. It looked like it wants to be an access point to another park, but the gate is there and it's closed. The picture on the top is looking south, and the picture on the bottom is looking east, and that gives you, that can't be south, that's looking north. It's looking north. So we took these pictures to show you what it looks like in that area. So from where we were standing, you can see that red stripe is the oil change building, and just north of that is 441. And on the bottom is looking east, so that is shooting down toward the entrance to the mobile home park. And then we took some pictures as if you were pulling into that access from 441, just shooting how you would go into it and what it looks like when you get to that point. So that's actually an access point for that whole strip all the way down to the next light as we drove it. Is that all you have? Yep. So that's all we have. Thank you.
That's where you can only turn right out of there, correct?
Yes.
Well, you turn, it's a, yeah, yep.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Candy.
So with that, we move to the departmental review summary. The project was sent out to all the city departments plus Lake County Government and School Board. There were no substantive comments from the city departments with the exception of the Public Works Department. The project will require relocation of wastewater lines and construction of a lift station. We would anticipate that if the overall project is approved, thank you, that lift station would benefit the entire area. The school board response noted that the project is subject to school concurrency review, and it would generate a total of 16 students. Under the current allowance in Lake County, we noted it would be 15 students, so it's one additional student based on that. The public responses were numerous. Per the City of Leesburg notice requirements, the project was sent out to the surrounding property owners. There are 12 actual surrounding property owners. However, because there's some rental communities and where people rent the homes but don't own the land, we received a ton of responses, about 47 responses from neighbors in the area, plus 13 that, I think it was 12 or 13 that wanted to speak. I've got a note here that says 13. Their concerns included they were against the proposed annexation, the overall density, additional traffic, stormwater, wetlands, spot zoning, school overcrowding, the concern about apartments and low-income apartments. These comments or these concerns are mitigated in the PUD zoning, which we can go over. I'd like to go ahead and, if you would allow me, go over the PUD itself and then read the recommendations into the record. Within the PUD, the permitted uses are detached single-family residential units and attached single-family residential units. And that's it, no apartments. Apartments are considered a multifamily use and are prohibited under this PUD, as well as any commercial uses and any other uses. So essentially what you get is detached single-family and attached single-family. And I believe I stated earlier that there were a proposal for 27 detached units and 20 attached units. The development would come up to approximately 6.7, 6.8 units per acre. The lots would have a minimum house size of 12 for single-family detached. You're looking at a minimum house size of 1,200 square feet under roof. Now, because this is one single property, it's going to be condominiumized. And what we mean by that is that you can buy the unit. They're not being platted. The land stays in one property. You can go in and buy a single-family house just like you would buy a condominium. You're essentially buying what's inside, okay, and have the right to use that. And you have to pay your monthly dues to the homeowners association to keep the property up and all that kind of thing. And that applies to the entire development. So it remains in one, just as if it was a condominium development, okay? It remains under one ownership for the land. You or I or anyone else can go in and buy the house itself, but we're not buying the land around the house, okay? All structures are going to have a minimum 2-car garage. They all have to have gutters constructed on the primary structure to direct stormwater away from the foundation into the appropriate water retention areas. There are design and architectural standards which will require visual relief along all elevations. The designs can include gables, recessed entries, covered porches, cupolas, pillars, stone accents, and shutters. In addition to that, there are additional exterior architectural requirements that require, as an example, 35% full width brick or stone, meaning if you have 10 feet, 3.5 feet of it have to have brick or stone across the front, sort of that brick or stone pattern across the front facade of the building. You can do that with full width brick or stone. They also can do full stucco if you have at least 5 of these design features. So there's some significant design restrictions in there. Again, the dark sky lighting, 35% of the area has to be open space. That can include the retention areas, all of any grassed area. It's considered open space. There'll be the 15-foot buffer planted tract along the eastern and western boundaries. And let's see. Each unit will have to have a minimum of 1 understory tree within the nearest front yard area and 1 understory in the landscape area between each unit. The city has an approved tree list that they can pull that from. The city also uses IFAS, the University of Florida Agricultural Sciences Center, for their tree list because those are trees that survive in Florida. You're not bringing in an outside species that will, like a Chinese elm or something, that creates a problem. There's a requirement for either a fence or a wall along the eastern and western boundaries. The wall can be a solid material. It can be made of concrete, or it can be one of the newer materials like the wall that exists over there on the townhouse type development off of South Street, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of that. I apologize. It's a wall been there about 15 years, and it's made of a...
Royal Oaks.
I'm sorry?
Royal Oaks.
It's by Royal Oaks. It's the development by there. There's a wall there. It's been there many years, and it's almost like a foam material. You set the columns, you place that in there, and it's done a very good job. But either that or a solid 6-foot fence is required. These are not options. These are requirements. There are landscaping and buffer requirements for trees, shrubs, and ground cover. And then on the site access and signage, they have to have the one access that goes in. If you could go to the aerial, or actually go to the site plan, please. It's a few pages in there toward the end of that. The property, there's a road across the northern part of this property now. That's the access for people to the immediate east. That has to be maintained. I believe there is an existing easement in there, but to be safe, we noted in the PUD that has to be either maintain the existing easement or create one that allows access through for the folks on the east. Now, see, I didn't pass anything up. So you have the site access. They will also have to do all of the work in regards, if you'll look up at the top left, right in here, that area will be a new lift station to get the sewage out of the area, and that would impact these folks and these folks as far as getting the service and getting everything out there. So you have the walls here, the landscape buffers here. These are the attached units on the north and on the west. Then the detached units run down the center. That's water retention in the middle. This is water retention down here. That's the boat dock area.
Marina.
Marina, yes, sir. So it's not an inexpensive project by any means. Let's see.
Where was that other easement you were talking about, Dan? You wanna
The
point-
easement for the roadway, the entrance comes in here, and you have to go right across the northern top right here. And that is a requirement that if there's not an existing easement to protect the people over here, there has to be one created.
Okay.
And we can hold everything up until that happens. They have to pay for all the utilities. The stormwater is managed under St. Johns River Water Management, FDEP, and City of Leesburg regulations. There's a ton of stormwater areas here and in here. It's surprising, and that may end up, we don't know yet. We have to wait on the geologic reports at the time of development. We don't know if those will be wet or dry ponds. Of all things, there's a wildlife plan required as well to go out there and look for gopher tortoises, sand skinks, and bald eagles, anything like that. Again, the irrigation and water usage is pretty restrictive. There is a requirement for recreational development, and that's down here where there is an exercise or weight room and a swimming pool. Those are required in here. And let's see, that takes care of the major points of the zoning requirements. I'd like to go ahead and read the recommendations, please. And that's for the zoning. So we'll start with the comp plan recommendation, which I apologize, I didn't get that tabbed correctly.
Sorry.
For Anglers on Harris residential subdivisions, a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment from Lake County urban medium density to City of Leesburg low density for SSCP 22437. Planning and Zoning Divisions recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3187 Florida statutes for small-scale comprehensive plan amendments. Two, the proposed future land use designation of low-density residential is compatible with the current surrounding future land use categories of City of Leesburg, general commercial, and Lake County urban medium density. Three, the proposed future land use designation of low-density residential is compatible with the proposed city zoning of City of Leesburg SPUD small plan unit development and does not appear to create a detriment to the adjacent Lake County future land use category of urban medium. Four, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is to vote to approve the staff's recommendation to change the future land use of the subject property from Lake County urban medium density to City of Leesburg low density and forward to the City Commission for their consideration. The recommendation on the zoning for Anglers on Harris residential subdivision, which is a rezoning request from Lake County Planned Commercial District to City of Leesburg Small Plan Unit Development, case number SPUD 22-438. The Planning and Zoning Division recommends approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the proposed request is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of City of Leesburg C3 Highway Commercial, Lake County R1 Rural Residential, and Lake County RMRP Mobile Home Rental Park District. As conditioned, the proposed use does not appear to be detrimental to the surrounding properties. Two, the proposed zoning district of SPUD small plan unit development as conditioned and shown in the attached Exhibit A is compatible with Lake County urban medium density future land use and the proposed City of Leesburg future land use designation of low density residential. Three, the rezoning of the subject property is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve staff's recommendation to rezone the subject property from Lake County CP, which is Planned Commercial District, to City of Leesburg SPUD Small Planned Unit Development, and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. So, Mr. Mike Rankin is here representing the project. He's with LPG of Mount Dora. Staff is recommending approval. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Stuart, good to see you back. Welcome aboard back. Ken, good to see you. And members of the audience, for the record, my name is Michael Rankin. I represent the client, which is Anglers at Lake Harris, which is Lake Harris Acquisition Group. And I gave Dan the name change today. They want to be referred to as Venetia at Lake Harris. So that's the name. And our office is 1162 Camp Avenue in Mount Dora, and I also live in the area on 9013 Silver Lake Drive here in Leesburg. Again, serving on a volunteer board, it's always tough. You get the high water marks and the low water marks, but I, one who live in the area, appreciate anybody that volunteers their time to serve and hear opportunities that will make improvements to our community and our county. I much appreciate that.
Flattery will get you whatever you want.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a line my wife gave me, so I'm sticking with it. So, development and planning and zoning in any city can be easy and can be a challenge. Most cities go after, obviously, new development, annexations, and it's typically done in the outskirts of your community where you annex property because of the utilities. But when a city can dial in on redevelopment of internal pieces, now you're really hitting the mark of seeing a community come full circle, not only seeing new projects, but seeing much needed infill to the area. So we're excited about this project. In my 9 years here in the area, I don't know how many times in my previous life we talked about somebody looking at this property for a development, and for one reason or another, it just didn't work out. There were so many dynamics, so many challenges of this property, it just didn't work. But we think we've got one that makes a lot of sense. We think it's a great infill project. That's one reason why we're excited about the opportunity. And the other one is under permitted uses right now in the county, we could see a kennel, amusement park, automotive repair, car wash, hotel, car sales, junkyards, or daycare right now with the right owner come in for a permit application to build. So we see this as an opportunity to kind of steer away from that type of development on the waterfront and focus in on more of a residential development that respectfully raises the bar to some degree in some of our area. As Dan mentioned, we're seeking the application. We've reviewed the conditions. We have no issues with any of the recommendations from city staff. I did want to hit some of the high points. This is a $400,000 and upward development. The townhomes will be $400,000 entry level. The bungalows are going to be north of that, and this is on top of the monthly fees that they're going to pay in the neighborhood, ballparking $300 to $400 a month. So this really challenges a different clientele to look at the Leesburg area. Maybe it's those folks that are looking for that esteemed second home on the water where they come and spend their winters and then they go home in the summer months, or they live there permanently. But we see an opportunity for a clientele that we have challenged to locate in the Leesburg area. This will be platted as a condominium, fee simple, maintained by the condo association, so you'll see consistency. Again, I mentioned it's infill development, located along a major commercial, less vehicle miles traveled due to its proximity to commercial businesses, thus reducing congestion. Proposed density is similar, not less than adjacent property owners. And I took the liberty, and I did share this with Dan and Candy. Mr. Chairman, if I could put this up.
Please.
Okay. This shows contiguous properties, and I apologize if I'm in anybody's way, and I'll move it around, but you can see the consistency in density on either side of our proposal. So we wanted to make sure that we were consistent, that we weren't sticking out, if you would, to a development that didn't make sense. We didn't want to have too much density there. And we spent a lot of time with the client helping them understand, look, this is what we think the city would tolerate as far as density. So we're at about 6.4 units per acre, and you can see 6.46, 10.15, and 7.22. And we think these are very good estimates. A little bit different than what Dan and Candy had numbers, but pretty well in line, yeah, hundreds. And again, the product being construction would be north of 400,000 for the towns, and the bungalows, again, could be 500,000-600,000. It just depends. The other thing that we did work with the developer on with Dan's assistant is the upgraded designs and architectural standards. We are holding our client to a high level of standards, in our opinion, of the finish of these projects. And Candy, did you get the? We only have one slide to show you. There you go. You can kind of get the feel of what we're proposing. And respectfully, I dare you to find that anywhere in our town right now, let alone Lake County. So we wanted to make sure they understood the architectural standards would be held to a higher standard than most areas. And the road easement that Dan had mentioned, there is a minimum commitment to resurface that road easement. Now, granted, we're on page 6, and a lot of folks are on page 405 as far as how's this thing going to look. We've got a lot of hurdles to climb as far as traffic, utilities, and we're working with Public Works and the county as well as how to skin this cat, if you would. The amenities, as Dan mentioned, would include a pool overlooking the lake, a gym, and boat marina. Each unit will have one slip, and I believe there will be 14 additional slips. So if he or she wants an additional slip or has a larger boat, then they could negotiate at that point. But each unit will have a slip. And then the beach. And the folks that live near there and all of us that are familiar with the property, when I mention the word beach, you're thinking, you gotta be kidding me. So there's a lot of cleanup necessary along that marina and the beach to bring it back into a pristine environment that will facilitate somebody wanting to spend $400,000 on a condo. So, you know, the amenities are important to this. So again, we see this as an opportunity to kind of steer it away from other uses that could go there. And we stand by the staff's recommendations, and we just ask for consideration. I know there's a lot of folks that talk. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions they may have.
Thank you, Mike. I'm sure there's quite a few people here, but I have 3 requests to speak, okay? So I will.
I have a question for this fellow.
Hang on.
I have 3 requests to speak, okay? And please, there's another one I see.
Well, there's only one way in and out of this place. From the Cape
Sir.
Drive
Sir, you're gonna have to wait until you're recognized. Okay. I have Kara Singletary. Yes, ma'am. Now, what we're going to do here, because we have a lot of people that would like to voice their opinion, are you speaking for yourself or for the group?
No, I'm an attorney on behalf of one of the adjoining property owners.
Carry on.
Okay. So I am only going to address the legal implications of the possible annexation and the requirements under the violation codes. I believe there's other people who intend to speak more on the practical matters of the neighboring property, but my analysis is more on a legal implication.
Okay.
Some of which may be a little premature, given that this is obviously going to go to the city commissioner. So the items I do want to just bring to the board's attention and to preserve them on the record, that the proposed annexation will create an enclave of the county properties to the west of this proposed annexation, 044, item 5. Also, the annexation and rezoning is not consistent with the only contiguous city property, which is the heavy commercial C3, I think highway commercial is what y'all call it, along 441. And I wanted to really focus on what I was going to speak to on a review of the city's zoning district code, Article 4, Section 25-278, regarding the planned development process, and requires the board to consider and to determine the following items. One, that there are special physical conditions or objectives of development which the proposal will satisfy to warrant a departure from the standard ordinance requirements. Reviewing what's been submitted and that obviously currently this is county property that is currently districted as an, I believe, a R6 or a rural R1, with the county future use indicating a future use of R6. I think there was a reference to a planned commercial. I did not locate that in my analysis of the future use under the county. The neighboring properties, as I think have already been mentioned, are a 55 and up mobile home community, and my clients, which reside to the immediate east of this property, which is a rural R1. That's the home you can see on this concept plan, right to where the boat ramp is. Based on my review, there has been no indication in the materials that I have seen that indicate that there are special conditions or objectives of development identified in the application to warrant a departure from the current plan. Second, on item B, the resulting development would not be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan provisions or zoning objectives in the area. This is item 3B. Obviously, my client's position and the review of what's currently there indicates that this would be inconsistent with the current zoning in place and currently with the city. The next item I would like to address, I don't think that there's an issue of it being completed within a reasonable period of time, though there was reference just earlier about the construction of a lift station and wastewater having to be recirculated, which might impact reasonable period of time for completion. Item D, this is a main area. The streets are adequate to support the anticipated traffic, and the development will not overload the streets outside the planned area. As already has been mentioned, there is only one access easement. It's a private easement that enters in between two commercial properties, and my understanding is only 18 feet that's currently paved. In the contemplation of 48 units with an anticipated 2 to 4 people per unit, you're looking at an additional 100 to 200 residents in that area using an 8-foot easement to access this large developed property, which would ultimately result in blowback onto Highway 441. And that property is not currently maintained by the city or by the county, as it's a private easement. So there's been no reference to maintenance of that. The next item is item G. The proposed use will not alter the character of the surrounding area, which substantially limits, impairs, or prevents the use of the surrounding properties. And while there might not be an issue with the prevention of the use, it certainly will alter the character of the neighborhood. It's my understanding there are currently several natural features on the property, which I believe goes to item F, that the parcel is suitable for the proposed use considering its size, shape, location, topography, existence of improvements, and the natural features. And as to those natural features, I would say that the lakefront nature of the property is not suitable for the proposed changes. It is unclear to me how on this concept plan, how the buffer for the wetlands is being modified to account for a gym and a beach and a pool, given that the wetlands indicate that there must be 50 feet back. Lastly, that it does affect and is not consistent with what's there. The project narrative uses in combination a reference to both SPUD and PUD, which under your city zoning district code under section 25-274 have distinct intents and different statements. So it did not appear clear to me in reading them whether, I believe the application was for a small PUD, but there were multiple references that I also saw for a PUD with particularly with a reference on page 4 of the project narrative indicating 18 units per acre with PUD zoning. That's obviously also, I believe, in the notice and even in the comments made today. There's been reference to both SPUD and PUD. So just like a distinction as to which one is being approved for that purpose. It certainly has a impact on the density that's anticipated. Currently, it is zoned under the county for 7 units per acre. Based on that, it does not seem to indicate that there is a true need for this property to be annexed into the city. With what they've alleged under the developmental plan, I believe the same could be accomplished, though possibly scaled down under the current county permissions. And with that, I hopefully have been within the 3 minutes, if not a little bit over.
You just went over the 3-minute allowed.
Okay. Well,
But being that you were legal representing the group, I presume?
No, I believe there are some
property
people
owner.
that still wish to speak.
Just
I
one
was
property
representing particular property owners. Okay.
Legal counsel, you wanted to respond?
Well, I mean, there were obviously a lot of issues that Ms. Singletary brought up there. Without going through all the maps and the code and everything, it's very difficult for me to really weigh in on the specifics of that. My suggestion would be that if there are any particular items that Mrs. Singletary brought up that are a concern to anyone on the commission, to make note of that in your recommendation. But, again, I would just suggest, as Mrs. Singletary did, this is a recommending body. So at the end of the day, whatever the recommendation is, again, that's kind of why I encourage you to sort of make note of any concerns that you have so that the commission will be aware of that. But I don't think that anything she mentioned would prevent you from making a recommendation today that could move forward to commission, and that would give us an opportunity to look at some of these legal issues a little more in depth that have been raised. And again, there's still an opportunity for 2 more hearings at that point for the public to participate in.
Because it's kind of hard for me as one commissioner to respond to all your legal jargon that you've just thrown at us. And
yeah, and I would say most of that is in your code. It's the things that you have to consider. So I'm pointing them out as considerations that must be made in order to even move this thing forward. The other part of that is with regards to, I believe, what Grant was discussing, the possibility of annexation and the enclave. Obviously, that would ultimately head into a lawsuit if there is a creation of a enclave, and there's multiple case laws, which I've brought with me, but I'm sure are way too boring to entertain you with. So.
Commissioner Center, you have a question?
Or a statement or whatever. She's talking about the SPUD and the PUD. Was that just a script
Just
error?
typo, that's all it is.
Okay, because
Well, that could be fixed.
it was throughout the project narrative as well as I believe the notice and
The difference is SPUD is under 10 acres and PUD is over 10 acres essentially. That's just a
I
distinction.
think it's just the habit of
It's-
people calling all of them PUD.
Yeah, they all get called
Yes.
PUD.
Okay.
I figured I would just
We can make that though. We can
to the extent
correct
that the
it.
notice referenced both a PUD and an SPUD, that would possibly impact the notice requirements.
I just want to get that.
And I just wanted to make one more comment. I think that Dan has perhaps some responses as well. Just to remind the commission also that there is an ISBA with municipalities in the county, the South Lake County ISBA, that also weighs in on annexation and issues of enclaves and the like. So again, I don't have it sitting in front of me, but that's something else that we'll take a look at and how that might impact things as well.
Daniel,
So-
you have any comment?
Just to respond to a few of Ms. Singletary's, and thank you for your comments, Ms. Singletary, I appreciate it. In regards to the legal implications of annexation, the city of Leesburg does have an ISBA with Lake County. That's an interlocal service boundary area agreement under Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. If you do have an ISBA, and that is a mapped area that's larger than the boundaries of the city, significantly larger than the boundaries of the city, then the provision regarding enclaves is dismissed because you can legally, per state statute, annex within the ISBA. The city's done it numerous times. We do it only along major arteries, which this is, along 441. The statement about not being consistent with C3, well, any type of residential use adjacent is a supporting use to the C3. So I disagree respectfully with that statement. Spec that one out. In terms of being completed in a reasonable amount of time, many developments have to install lift stations. There's nothing uncommon about that. We received no evidence of overloading the street. I agree and understand that it's a private road and it's narrow. The road will have to be preserved and it will be upgraded for the adjacent property owners. I would imagine, based on the site plan, it could potentially be widened a bit to make it even better. You know, the alterations of the surrounding area, I mean, residential to residential is under statute consistent. I'm not an attorney, but I have one sitting next to me. And the density is consistent. This is an expensive project, and I think it will upgrade the area. Finally, as far as annexing, in order to get city water and wastewater for the past, I don't know, at least 20 years, you have to annex because the Lake County does not provide water and wastewater services.
Correct.
So with all due respect to Ms. Singletary, staff feels that it is a supportable project. Thank you.
All right. I'm sure there's some people out there that would have a few words to say, and we're going to try and limit it to 3 or 4 minutes here, guys. So 3 minutes is what I put on the timer. So be prepared for what you have to say. I need for your name and your address to identify yourself and then speak. And please, let's don't repeat. You know, if you have a new idea, we'd love to hear it. But, you know, I just don't want to hear the same thing from everybody. So if you don't mind, let's kind of move it forward. I have there's no name on this. 10550 Holloway Drive, number 28. You didn't put your name on here, ma'am, so I can't read your signature, but that's okay. Your name and where you live, please.
Okay, my name is Alexis Swirsky. I live in 1055 Holloway Drive, which is the mobile park home just south of this proposed area. And I have, it's a 55-plus community. I moved in when I was 55, which was 15 years ago, and have watched this community change and go downhill. I am all in favor of progress and development, but from what I have seen in this community, we have now got a Starbucks that congests that whole street and occasionally has car accidents. We have a 5-minute oil change who has a back door entrance to that place, causing intermittent total obstruction of the only exit from the mobile home park. But obviously, these were not positive changes in my mind. Now, the other people will be discussing a lot of things that I had thought I would discuss, but I know they're going to talk about it, so I won't. What I would like to say is that one of my concerns is transparency with this board, because I did not know about the whole change until my neighbor informed me of it. Second, the sign that was posted is minuscule. It was posted on the last available day, limiting our access for any kind of argumentative discussion. So I think that was totally manipulative on the board's part. And I personally called the office multiple times and left messages and never got a call back. So That being what it was, it is what it is. I'm not going to belabor that point, but I think there is room for improvement there. I personally am not against growth or development or expansion of a new community. I am against the growth, expansion, and development of new communities at the express cost of disruption, destruction, and eventual displacement of an existing community, which is my 55-plus community. Now, property values may not go down in that area. I own my home. I do not own the property. That fits your definition of a condo, and it's a mobile home park. So my thought is, this plan will definitely be detrimental to the community that I live in. The only person who will benefit from this development program is the property owner of my mobile home park, not the mobile home park residents who have lived there for multiple decades, which is how long that park's been there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I take offense to what you said about this board. There's no hidden agenda. We have nothing to gain from it. And I just want to publicly say I take offense by that.
Okay, well, you can take offense.
I am.
mean, if you
I
look,
think that is so unfair of
the
you.
posted sign is maybe 8 by 10 on a huge piece of fencing. The printing on it is barely legible. There is a telephone number listed, which I called multiple times and left messages with my telephone number, and it said I would get a call back. I never got a call back.
So
This
how is the board?
You as a board represent the city management committee.
Well, someone had enough time to hire an attorney, so obviously there was enough time.
That is the person who told me about the whole thing. In the interim of when she told me that, and when I've been here now, I've had a parent who died.
Okay.
It's my understanding that you have to be a property owner to be notified, ma'am, and you're not a property owner.
Exactly, and I think that's a real manipulative behavior on the part of the board.
Maybe you should
Ma'am,
blame
that's
the
a
homeowner. I
statute.
mean, the owner of the land.
Go ahead.
Well, I take offense to that.
No,
I volunteer my time.
I don't disagree that you maybe take offense to this, but I've lived in this community for 15 years and supported this community.
Excuse me.
I'm done.
Excuse me. Candy, could you please tell us when that sign was actually posted?
Why, yes, ma'am, we keep excellent records.
Thank you.
And is it 8 by 10?
What
Oh,
size is the
heavens, no.
sign?
That's what I thought.
Oh, heavens,
I
no.
wanted to confirm that.
No.
How big is it?
24 by 30. I believe it's
Something like
24
that.
by,
It's probably 18 by 24.
yeah, 18 by 24. It's posted to the requirements of the Florida state, excuse me.
There's a picture there.
You're done.
Could you flip?
It's
could you
posted to
screen
the
that?
statutes of the state of Florida and the city of Leesburg. The color, the font height, it's all in the law, and that's what we do. It's per the law.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this record is probably sitting in my inbox.
Okay.
We actually went out 3 times and took pictures 3 times because our
Right.
cameras were messed up. But we did get out there and take the picture. It's usually the Friday
Based
before.
on the reference of an 8 by 10 sign, I don't put much credence in what she
No.
said there. But
I don't care.
we're moving right along. I have another person that wants to speak. Lisa Renee. Reness, please forgive me.
Well, I don't know, because you know what? I just had to go back there and have a little prayer and say a little piece of Jesus, because this
Name
is so
and where you
upsetting.
live,
I'm
please.
about to tell you that.
Easy.
You know, no. I'm a public servant. I get paid. She gets paid. You know, she told me I should have bought the property. That's what I was told when I met her, putting up the little sign the last day. I am Lisa Reness. I've lost page number 1. I live at the mobile home park. I own a home there too, only for 14 months, not much longer. But you know what? I don't even know if I I'm going to read this for you, but I take offense that you took offense because you're on this board, you're not paid, and I understand that. But my dad's an American hero. He's in heaven now. He was my hero, and he served the city of Gulf Breeze, Florida for $1 a year. And those $2 bills were washed away in a hurricane. But my dad served and served and served. And if you want to serve, you have to take offense when you're working with the public. I work with the public every day.
That's fine.
And no, but I don't sit there and somebody
Ma'am,
that's
can
had
I
to
get
come and
you to
talk about
stick
her
to what
home.
we're trying to talk
It's
about
just
here,
wrong.
ma'am?
It's just wrong.
It is wrong.
Please stay focused on what we're supposed to be
Excuse
talking
me,
about.
I am. I wanted to say
Well, then
something
do
to what
it.
he said. This won't take but another minute. I'm Lisa Reness. I have grave concerns about the annexation and the extraordinarily high number of units in that planned development. I am not opposed to development. Oh, wait a minute, I'm saying something again that somebody else said. I just would like it to fit into the community, into what if you were back to that and you see the concrete going all the way down and the wetland retention ponds are right there on the lake. Never have I ever seen anything like that, ever. There's so much that I was going to just say about how this is going to impact the community, which is basically our mobile home park, because the other mobile home park goes out on the other side of Chipotle. But right now, since Take 5, I'm talking about just the safety of people going in and out. And a lot of people are retired there, but I work every day and I leave early and I come back late. But early, people will want to cut through Goodwill and try to get out at the traffic light, and that's congested because of the coffee house. But just even where I'm at, I've even had a police officer run the light to get out on 441. Our stop sign is behind a tree, and so we all wait because we don't want to get, hit. There is a lot of traffic that I don't even remember the amount, but it's like 40,000 people go through there every single day. And adding an extra 100 people with school-age children too, a school bus back there on that little narrow road. You've got to be kidding me. I really wanted, my background's in forestry. I wanted to say of what was going to happen because the plan says that they're going to cut all the trees down. And if you think for 1 minute, UF,
Hey, ma'am,
4-inch
time is
caliber
up.
trees.
Time's up. And thank you, Father,
No.
for this service. Okay, Desiree Griffin?
Deirdre Griffin, sir?
Yes, please. I hope I didn't mispronounce it.
It's fine, I get that on a daily basis. That's perfectly okay. Try spelling it sometimes. All right, my name, as he said, is Deirdre Griffin. I live at 10534 Holloway Drive in Leesburg, Florida. Good evening, my name is Deirdre Griffin. My single-family, single-story R1 resident runs along the entire side, over 700 feet of the compact parcel located at 32311 Anglers Avenue. I'm here today to oppose the annexation of the small parcel and rezoning to allow high-density PUD development. The small parcel is located within RMRP 55 and up residents, R1, in a quiet one-story single-family shoreline community. Outside of the 55 and up Lake County community pocket is a shoreline of R1 Lake County residents. When looking at the zoning map for the city of Leesburg, it is clear that the proposed annexation would have absolutely no connection to any city residents in that area. It might have a connection to commercial, but no connection to any city. Ultimately, the parcel would be an anomaly among a heavily dominated lake shore of R1 and 55 and up Lake County residents. Currently, the city of Leesburg provides utilities and sewer to that small parcel, so no annexation is necessarily needed. I do not oppose the parcel being developed. I oppose overdevelopment that is going to rape the small parcel bare, increase the traffic density to a magnitude that is unsustainable, alter the character of our community for special interest to the landowner and city, and impact our natural resources. 3-story units and 2-story units would tower over all the residents in the area. The proposed development will not improve the residents, existing community, or lakeshore appearance. Currently, 44 single-family residents from the 55 and up community, known as Hideaway, as well as the R1 resident, share non-exclusive easements that offer ingress and egress onto 441.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Oh, Goes quicker than you think around here, doesn't it? I'll tell you what, I swear, it's like your birthday. And you know, there's another one. Well, I do appreciate everyone's time, and thank you for listening to me.
Yes, ma'am. Dan Howard.
She pretty much took a lot, but we'll see what we can do. Good evening. My name is Daniel Howard. I reside at 10534 Holloway Drive. Myself and my wife and my two boys share the eastern 704-foot property line with the proposed annexation PUD multi-story, multifamily high-density parcel. I'll try and not repeat everything here. We are not against any development. We are against the supersize development that they're planning to have go in there. I believe if the project is scaled down to fit in with the existing neighbors and surrounding communities, I believe they could still achieve a nice, charming, upscale, gated community that does not overload the area. With the easements, there are 3 non-consistent easements coming off of 441. They grant exactly 21 foot by 350 feet from 441 down to where that yellow sign was at the fence. And then we have additional easements to get back to our parcel, which is on the east side. I believe the narrow access driveway will not sustain the future proposed traffic, never mind all of the construction traffic. All the traffic still has to share the same driveway apron with the heavy commercial, retail customers, and the retail workers entering and exiting 441 every day. The annexation is not taking into account any of the current ingress and egress issues or overloading outside the future PUD annexation area. Currently, this 21-foot wide easement does have an 18-foot 6-inch asphalt driveway. Going to the stories, the height requirements, there is nothing in this area that is 2 or 3 stories, especially on the water's edge of Lake Harris. 3.5 stories is very tall. It's taller than most of our trees out there. Our nearest height comparison for this is the Holiday Inn Express, which is about a mile to the east on 441. Everything out there is just single story. I mean, even the mobile homes. I know they say rentals, but the people actually own all their homes. Everything is single story. Most of the commercial is single story as well, other than that. So we just think that towering effect is going to be detrimental to everybody on the west and east sides. And if you're out in the lake, I imagine you're going to see this. It's going to glow like a second sun out there. So all the bass tournaments, the appearance is just going to be, it's going to be overwhelming in my opinion. Other than that, I ask you to please stay consistent with the current use and future use for the proposed annexation parcel. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have of people that wanted to make statements, so I will close this portion. Sir, have you filled out one of these?
No, but I had a question. We sent them in by mail. There was some sent in by mail, and then they were unaware that they were supposed to sign one as well at the door.
Okay.
And 74 were mailed in that disapproved of this. The number was incorrect earlier. 74 were mailed in that disapproved.
It's not going to take me 3 minutes.
Step up, sir. Identify yourself and where you live.
Russ Yonkers, I live on Holloway Drive.
Speak into the microphone, sir.
Russ Yonkers, I live on Holloway Drive in the mobile home park there. The thing was, there's about 64 units here. One driveway, and it comes out, as you know, between the oil change and Goodwill. You have never made the owner, Alex Stewart, put the second means of egress out here in case of disaster, fire, emergency, ambulance, all that, there's only one way, in and out. So all of this, all of this, all of it, has only got one way in and out. Where's everybody's second means of egress? I personally think that the city should take the park here and have Ally Stewart put a second means of egress here. The ambulance has only got one way in and out.
Right.
The fire. So you get out here, drive out there and take a look. Nobody's maintaining this street here.
Correct.
It's got a pothole bigger than a circle here. Nobody makes anybody do this. They all shrug their shoulders and say, well, this is mine, it belongs to the county. No, it belongs to the city. Oh, it belongs to the guy that owns that property. Nobody can do anything. That's what I got to say. Give me a second means of egress here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate the input. Now, was there someone else?
There was me some just.
Well, get up here. Get up here because the clock's running.
Did you get sworn in?
Yeah, I was sworn in, yes. My name's Timothy Thompson. I live at 10550 Holloway Drive, lot number 11, which is right here. I'm the maintenance man for this park and this park over here. I take care of both of them.
Why didn't you fix the road?
I fixed the road. I fixed it last year. I put a Band-Aid on it, so I made it better for a little while. But this road, like they were saying, it's a small road. I am traveling back and forth to that road all day long, every day, 7 days a week. There's no room for no more traffic on that road. With the oil change place, the Goodwill, the Starbucks, the Steak and Shake, and all of us residents, there's just no room for any more traffic there. The wildlife there, the bald eagles that I see every day, the families of cranes, you're gonna lose those, you're gonna lose those giant oak trees. I don't want any of it there. I want the property to stay just the way it is.
Buy it.
My father-in-law was working on buying it, and he passed away before he could get it. So I wound up with the lake house, the mobile home.
Yes, sir.
So I'm against the development altogether, just because of what I see every day, and there's just no more room for no more people back there.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
need the whole 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right. I'm going to close this off from the public. We're going to discuss this amongst ourselves as commissioners. Any comments?
Ladies first.
Beg your pardon?
Ladies first. First of all, it's my mic. Dan, I saw you kind of nod when he was talking about the egress. The other, you just to kind of agree with that.
And that was Mr. Russ. Thank you, sir, Mr. Russ Yonkers. And talking about the second means of egress, that's a very good point, because many years ago, and I don't remember the exact year, maybe 04, 05, 06, it looks like there was a stub out between the shopping centers over here, if I may.
Problem is, wasn't that developed before that was a normal thing to have two different
Right.
ingresses and
Right.
egresses?
And so you have the roadway coming here, if everybody can see this, and everybody sees possible.
They were all there long before that.
But there's the roadway coming here, but this is where the Publix is here by a point. Right, there's a roadway coming across here, and then there's a traffic light here, and coming straight through here. That was a stub out on this side. And what this law says is, makes perfect sense for a second access here, unload this. Now, granted, that would be an easement, probably have to be widened. That is a tight spot. And that is certainly something I believe Lake County, City of Leesburg, they're all gonna look at. That's this. This is, I'm sorry, let me speak.
I'm sorry, we've
Sorry.
closed this off to
Wait.
the public. Thank you.
The,
You're public, sir.
the Lake County looks at all the traffic that goes through Leesburg. That's a part of the development proposal, development process. And we work with them daily in regard to that. And I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to say it, but since it came up, that that's probably going to be something that comes up with Lake County.
You can count on it.
Okay.
So it might be to their benefit.
Absolutely.
And thank you for answering that for
But,
me.
and I do want to say, I didn't want to bring it up because I don't know yet
Right, I
what
understand.
Lake County will say.
Right. Yeah. You can't speak for the county.
Yes,
You're the
ma'am.
city. First of all, I would just like to personally say that in regards to taking offense and this commission as a whole, believe it or not, I don't know about them. I'm here for you. I'm here to be you guys' voice. So when one of us does take offense, we have no agenda but your agenda. Your agenda is our agenda. And our recommendations are going to be based on facts and the law and the betterment of the community. So whenever something is done, we don't all get together, call each other and go, hey, let's post a sign on the last day and put the smallest possible sign up there.
better not.
That's not it, because we don't want to run into problems when something comes along in the future. Whether I'm here 10 years or 5 years from now, I don't want to be seen as the person that helped foster along a disaster. I want to live in a place that looks nice too. Secondly, I don't know sometimes when you get a lot of false information or you don't look at the entire picture of a project that's coming out there, it seems like you only had the benefit of counsel on your side, and that's why you're here to hear our side of what's going out there. From what I've heard, that this went from a medium density, and correct me if I'm wrong, to a low density area, so to speak. So they went to less homes in this area. But see, you're shaking your head, no, but it's here on paper in the facts. So then they stood there and said, basically, your two parks that are already developed, the new development that's going in, actually has less homes per footage. So there's less. Now, what the other gentleman said about the 2 to 3 story homes, I actually agree with you on that and would like to ask Mr. Rankin if the developer would actually come to some compromise, because that has been done in the past, about taking it down to maybe 2 story. These are homes that are, from the looks of it, of what I'm seeing, are very nice. So it's not like you're just anybody's gonna live there. This is a nice community.
$100,000 homes.
Yes, exactly. Compared to how much is your home?
The issue is.
Public comment, please. This is amongst the commission.
So I'm not doing it from. Yeah, I understand.
This is with the commission.
Okay, so
Please.
I wanted to make it be known that I don't think everybody's talking, but I don't think anybody heard what was actually going in there. This is less homes, because all of their comments are going back to what they think they heard and not exactly what the planning department is actually proposing. So these ladies went out and did due diligence by you, the actual community, to make sure that a plan was proposed that, sir, he talked about the lighting. The lighting that's going to be in that development has to be low and controlled lighting, so they just can't blast across the lake. And also in that plan, it is noted in the plan the kind of lighting that can be used on that development as to not glare across that lake. That is noted in the plan. So those things were taken into consideration. And we have held back projects that are not going to be consistent with the surrounding area. This proposal actually is very nice. It's nicer than what is already there. I don't know what you guys think was gonna go there. I'm calling it like I see it because that is what is there.
Don't communicate.
Okay, I understand. I know. I'm just upset because that's not fair. And I agree that there might need to be some recommendations as far as how high the buildings are, but my comment to the commission is that the development that is there, it is actually an upgrade from the surrounding areas. Maybe we need to make it more clear to the public as far as road improvements that are going to be addressed. Possibly for their benefit, an extra roadway that's probably going to be proposed in there, and everyone to reassess what is actually being proposed to let them know that this is an upgrade, not a detriment. Trees that are being removed also in the plan as well have to be replanted with trees that are Florida friendly. So nobody is ignoring the property. Nobody is ignoring what needs to be replaced. We're not ignoring Florida. We are trying to be consistent and make something that is actually going to look nice in that area.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Does any other commissioners have any comment?
Just that we're under the sunshine law, so we can't talk to each other prior.
No, we can't talk to each other ahead of time. We have
got
to
one,
talk
Ted.
right here. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm hearing a lot of comments about the traffic and the roads, and I do agree 100% with another means of egress in that area. Okay. Also, no one has mentioned anything about the marina. Is this marina going to be built at the same time as these condos or these homes, duplexes, so they can get the slip while it's built? And is it open to the public? And to deal with the rentals, the sales, everything. The access, again, is it open to the public? So those are my three questions. Is it going to be built at the same time? Is it open to the public? And, where's the office?
Mike Rankin can address that.
Okay.
The board has a question.
Wow.
Good questions, Ken. Let me see if I can answer those questions, and I'll be happy to elaborate on other comments that you have as well, Commissioner.
Thank you.
The marina is an amenity for those that are going to live in that development. Under the fees, we'll cover the maintenance of the marina and how the marina is operated on a day-to-day basis. But what we envision is somebody that's in one of the condos, he or she can walk down to the marina with their boat keys, jump in their boat, take off, bring their boat back, but it'll be a private marina. There will be additional stalls that possibly the owner may say, you know what, we got 10 extra stalls. Let's see if anybody in the area is interested in renting a stall, or more than likely they will opt out to let any of the residents that own have additional stalls, and they would pay additional fee for the additional stalls. But it's more of a boat dock than it's a marina. Is it going to have gas pumps? No, it's going to be a marina where you park your boat, tie it up, go home, come back, jump in your boat. So the maintenance will be under the direction of the association. They'll handle that, and it'll be incorporated in their fees. Hope that answered your question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Does the commission have, any other commissioners have any questions or discussions that we want to discuss amongst ourselves?
Yes, a comment on the height.
Microphone. You're right.
Yeah.
Comment on the height of these units. I'm sure, Mike, I'm sure you're aware that with a little architectural changes, this can look like a two-story building with a gable roof rather than the flat roofs, which may satisfy people as far as height goes. Would there be the opportunity to look at this again as a redo with the architecture?
Actually, we had a brief discussion, Dan and I, about a concern for the height, and that was one of the options we were looking at.
Okay.
Yes, it's the appearance, the candy on the building, if you would. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same concern about the three-story in relationship to the folks that live on each side. I mean, you live in a house and you kind of feel like, well, those people can look down on my backyard and see what we're doing and wouldn't have quite as much privacy. So that would be something I'd like to see.
I think most of you know me well enough. I'll make the ask. There's no doubt about that. So.
And I don't know if we could, if we decide to approve or not approve, if we would approve it with the condition that perhaps another ingress egress, that would be very, I think, satisfying for many of the people there. And I agree, this is an upgrade or a nice community, it appears. Not to downgrade what's there already, but it is not something that's going to be a lower value for sure.
Mr. Chair, could I comment?
Go ahead.
That's the spirit of a comp plan where, you know, I mentioned earlier we're on page 6 and everybody's on page 912 or whatever I
Right.
said. I mean, we've got a lot of moving parts to this. We've got to figure out the ingress and egress. We've got to figure out if we're going to go for tortoises in the property. The marina needs to be cleaned up. We've got many steps ahead of us that we know will involve the county and the city when it comes to ingress, egress, utilities, the lift station that will benefit other citizens in the area, not just our development.
I'd like to ask perhaps Dan to reemphasize what the existing zoning allows there if nothing is done with this project.
Yes, sir. The existing, excuse me, thank you, sir. The existing zoning of commercial plan would allow any number of commercial type uses, including the junkyard and somebody read a list. I don't have that list in front of me.
You want somebody's list?
It was some, yeah, I don't have that list in front of me. I apologize. It was commercial uses. And thank you, sir. There it was. Kennels, amusement parks, auto repair, car wash, hotel, car sales, junkyard, and daycare center.
It's commercial.
Under the current zoning, those are things that could be built there.
Dan, what's the current zoning again?
Commercial planned is what was showing on the GIS maps that we get from the county.
Okay, so another commercial versus housing could go there.
All right.
Correct.
And that's under the current plan.
And commercial is not ideal for waterfront, generally speaking. I mean, there's some, you know, you can have some things that are ideal in waterfront for commercial, but that's pretty limited in general. And so that's, those are just facts.
Mike, there's one thing that I'm concerned about, and him being the petitioner and the commission talking. I don't want these folks to think that we're not wanting the public to speak anymore, but he's the petitioner. The ingress and egress, Mike, has got to improve. It's got to be done.
I agree.
If that's not done, I don't know whether you can come back and make a presentation that would be a little more satisfying to me, because that dog won't hunt.
That's a county though, right?
We can help facilitate between the county. I mean, we work back and forth with the county on projects all the time.
Well, if
it helps.
the board is in favor of it, they can make it where an ingress and egress is done, and it could be resolved, or a plan could be in place before it goes to city commission.
That's right. Absolutely. And again, to tie in on that, to the extent you have any concerns and to address the commissioner's comment here, whatever conditions you think are appropriate, whether that would be a second access point is necessary, then that's absolutely something that you should include in a motion or recommendation.
That's what I would ask, that whoever does make a motion on this, that does include that, because if that's not addressed, Mike, I'm sorry, but I don't think that I don't think it'll fly.
I don't disagree. In our earlier discussions with the county, and also alerting Dan that we had contacted the county
Right.
because it impacts 441, that we would have to look at ingress egress. We knew that.
Okay.
The client knows that. He knows I'm standing here is looking at doing $500,000 units. They're going to want to make darn sure their client has adequate ingress and egress.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Is it gated?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Is there any more discussion amongst the commission? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, case number SSCP 22-437, I move to approve with the addition of having a second ingress and egress, and also to fix the Scribner error of the motion.
I need some clarification, please. I know you said he didn't have a problem with the height, but I wanted to add that motion in.
You're asking him to amend this motion?
Yes, I am.
Well, you would amend it.
Okay, well, I would like to ask that you make an amendment to include the height restrictions.
But the height,
From-
it's the height of the building or the appearance of the building. Two different things. You can make a building look lower, but still have the same height. Height's measured to the ridge. So I think we're talking about the appearance of the building.
I'm not gonna go, I said we need to go back to the drawing board and bring it back.
I would suggest we have a motion made, and I don't know, did you want to clarify the amendment, or do you want to just sort of withdraw the amendment request at this point and see how this motion plays out, and then see if another motion might be made after that?
So you make the amendment.
Yes,
To
I
the motion,
understand.
not me.
I understand. I know, I'm just considering what the gentleman said as far as the looks.
I like
We're
the
splitting
design.
hairs here.
I think it looks great.
No, I'm saying does it look, is it a 2 to 3 story? I'm trying to address the height.
All right, I'm going to take
So I don't
control
know
here.
what it's gonna do.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second to that motion? Hearing none, the motion dies for lack of a second. I will entertain another motion at this time.
There's your chance.
Commissioner Carter,
I'm going. I would like to, do I need to state those, that PUD?
you're going to have to word it, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you'll have to do the entire motion.
Okay, are we working on PUD 22-438, excuse me?
37.
437? I'd just like to add that,
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
make that motion with the following considerations for the height requirement put in there, the second interest with the egress and the ingress,
And the Scribner error.
the script area, and with that.
So to clarify the motion, you're wanting to put a stipulation on redoing the ingress and egress and the height of the building. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
And is that with an approval recommendation?
yes.
All right, I have a motion. Does everybody understand the motion?
I have a question. You're talking about a second ingress egress, or just improving the existing?
Second.
Second.
With the way you said it was
Correct.
confusing, okay.
Improving.
So your motion is to have a height restriction no taller than 2 stories and a second ingress egress.
Yes.
I'd like to second that motion.
I'm glad you clarified it. 'Cause
I have
height is not-
I have a motion and I have a second. I'd like to have, I'm going to call the vote on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign.
I can make it, excuse me,
Commissioner.
just an amendment to that. Again, I'm talking about the appearance rather than
Yes.
the actual.
Well, we're splitting hairs. The motion carries.
Plus, you can't make an amendment when there's not a motion.
No,
on the
you
floor.
can't. And now we need a motion on the zoning, please.
Parliamentarian feeders.
We need a motion on SPUD 22438.
I'll I'd like to make a motion that we approve SPUD 22-438 with the stipulation that there be a second approved ingress, egress, and a height restriction no taller than 2 stories.
In the SUPD, PUD, the Scribner error. Within the body of the
We had some typos
case,
Yeah, we got some typos.
they had PUD sometimes and SPUD
Okay.
sometimes.
I'm
Some-
looking at SPUD, is it what it
Correct.
is? That's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah, it's just a Scribner error.
Does everybody understand the motion?
Yeah, technically, this is the only one we had to do height with
Yes.
anyway, isn't it?
I'll entertain a second to that motion. I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate your time and
Thank you, Mike.
effort on this project.
And I thank everybody here for speaking. I welcome you guys to the commission, and you've been indoctrinated quite well tonight.
Yeah.
I also would like to introduce you, or invite you, if you would like.
We still have a meeting going on.
Y'all did not lose.
A-Line Fire and Safety is having a business after hours this evening, and if we hurry, we can get there before you want to.
It's a home shop there.
You've been invited for some
I think my dinner's
hospitality.
getting cold.
That's his son's business.
I will
He started
entertain
it.
a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to
I
adjourn,
have
Mr. Chairman.
motion, second. All in favor, signify by saying aye and adjourn.
Did you?